The march to City Hall continues, and it's my pleasure to introduce someone who is vying to become the next mayor of Charleston, Ginny Deerin, the creator and founder of Wings for Kids. Thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure.
And of course, you're also a businesswoman. Ginny, anyone who has been in Charleston recently, and certainly if you have lived in Charleston, you have been affected by flooding. What is your plan to relieve the flooding problem?
Well, it is a mess, obviously, and we need short and long-term plans. And the good news for the long term is Charleston is one of 4 cities that's been picked by the Academy of Sciences Resiliency Program to be a model for other parts of the country. So we have the brain power, the expertise, the help to really get out in front and come up with a good plan for our city long term. In the short term, it's a number of things, but one of the things that I want to focus on is overdevelopment. You know, I live west of Ashley, not far from Shadow Moss, and I'm sure you and your viewers are familiar with the flooding that happened at Shadow Moss. And Shadow Moss is not that old. And I am a big believer that we need to be very careful in development. I'm excited about the growth of our city, but I believe we have to put the infrastructure, whether we're talking about roads or storm water drainage systems, have to be in place before the development happened. And I think that that's been a problem in our city. I think that's what we're seeing out at Shadow Moss, and that's one aspect, but that is within the control of the city, how we build, when we build, how quickly we build, and importantly, when we put the infrastructure in.
Let's continue on infrastructure, continue talking about that. What is your plan to change the infrastructure of Charleston in a way that does not detract from Charleston's beauty, but relieve some of the problems we have with traffic?
Yeah. Well, like everyone, I love our city, and we want to protect and preserve this city that we love. While at the same time, we know we're growing, and it's important to put the growth where we want it to go and keep it away from where it's just overdeveloped. It's too much, and I think there's a big conversation out on James Island with the gathering place, too much density, not enough roads. So my plan, I put forth back in May a very comprehensive traffic plan and transportation plan, because I believe we can't just tinker around the edges. We can't just sink some traffic lights. We need improved roads. We need to complete 526, which of course has been going on forever. We need to connect our neighborhoods. There's some neighborhoods where 1/4 mile sidewalks could open it up so kids could walk to school, as opposed to parents being out in the traffic, getting in the carpool line. Public transit, real modern public transit solutions, and I want to try some would say old ideas, which are like ferry services. We need to come at it from a variety of ways so that it's easier for all of us to get around our city. It is, no question, the #1 thing on people's minds. They're sick of their lives being driven by traffic. What do they do? When do they do it? Revolves around traffic and congestion. And we just need a leader who can really break through that and take action, get things done. People are tired of waiting.
Too often we have seen recently videos of police officers having negative interactions with citizens. What is your plan to improve relations between cops and the community?
Well, #1, to have it top of mind. Our Chief Mullen, I am so impressed. I recently read, it's about a 100-page strategic plan, and the reason I like it, it goes from training, great training of police officers, technology, but then sort of the high-touch piece of what I think is so important, in addition to having well-trained police department with the equipment they need, is the interaction with the community. And I can see that in his plans. I can see it almost every community meeting I've gone to, from the other night to 15 people in their neighborhood meeting. There were 2 policemen there who work in that neighborhood. The whole time they sat there in the neighborhood meeting connecting with residents. I think that is one of the most important parts of having a trusting relationship with our police department, which I know is everyone's desire and will help us all in the long run.
If the mayor, Joe Riley, pardon me, had not decided to step down at this time, he likely would have been reelected. He's already been elected 10 times already. So apparently Charlestonians like some of his ideas.
Yes.
what would you do in terms of Mayor Riley's legacy? What would you immediately continue?
Well, you know, I think, and having worked with Mayor Riley for 40 years, I worked on his first campaign and I ran his last campaign and have been involved with major initiatives in the city working with him for 40 years. I think what people love about Joe Riley is that he has a vision. He thinks big. He approaches everything from the perspective of excellence and really doing great work. It's not driven by the city budget or how exactly are we going to get. He's visionary and he goes for it. And I think that's what people love. And he's a great optimist. We can do this. And so it's not necessarily a particular project. It's really, to me, what people love about him is he wants to make our city greater and greater and greater and greater. And it's a responsibility taking the baton from him.
If you were not among the 6 vying to become the next mayor of Charleston, there were 5 candidates left, who would you vote for and why?
Yeah. You know, I would have voted for Dick Elliott because I thought a lot about that before I got into the race. And the reason and now, of course, he's not in the race, I'm very proud to have Dick Elliott's endorsement. But the reason I liked who he was is he was the only person running who had ever run anything of any size successfully. And as you know, the city is a big, big operation. Mayor Riley spends a lot of time as a chief executive officer. And my experience working with Wings for Kids, founding it, growing into a multi-state, multi-million, hundreds of employees, and recognized as one of the best managed organizations, nonprofits in South Carolina, I think that's important. So I would have voted for Dick Elliott. But the good news for the voters out there is lots of good choices. And the important thing is get out and vote for whoever you think is going to be the best leader for our city.
All right. Ginny, Deerin, thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.